You're standing in the grocery store checkout line on a Tuesday afternoon. Cart's full, the cashier starts scanning. Beep, beep, beep. You're watching the total climb on that little screen. $47, $68, $89. Your heart starts racing. You weren't planning to spend this much. You just came in for a few things. How did it get to $89? The person behind you is loading their stuff onto the belt. You can feel them waiting. The cashier's almost done. $103. Your mind goes into overdrive. Do I have enough in checking? When does that automatic payment go through? Should I put something back? But everyone's watching. I'll look broke. Just use the card. Deal with it later. You tap your card. Approved. You exhale. You grab your bags and walk out. But that tightness in your chest doesn't go away because you know you just spent $40 more than you should have, and you did it because anxiety wouldn't let you put back the items you didn't really need. Not in front of all those people. Not when it would make you look like you can't afford groceries. Brother, I've been there. More times than I want to admit. And here's what the Lord showed me over the last 6 months. Anxiety isn't just making us feel bad about money. It's making financial decisions for us. Bad ones. Expensive ones. The kind that quietly drain thousands of dollars from our accounts annually, and we don't even realize we're being robbed. I'm Joe, and I spent the last 6 months studying how anxiety, not just stress, not just worry, but that deep gnawing anxiety that keeps us up at night, hijacks our financial decision-making and costs the average person between $3,000 and $12,000 annually. If you've ever bought something just to stop feeling anxious, if you've avoided checking your bank account because it makes your stomach turn, if you've paid extra just to avoid an uncomfortable conversation, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Because what I'm about to show you is how anxiety is operating as an invisible tax on your life, and more importantly, how God's Word gives us the tools to break free. And here's the verse that unlocked all of it. Proverbs chapter 12, verse 25. Anxiety in a person's heart weighs it down, but a good word cheers it up. That word weighs down in Hebrew is yeshenana. It doesn't just mean sadness. It means to bend, to press down, to make unable to function properly. And when your heart is weighed down by anxiety, your financial decision-making doesn't just suffer, it collapses entirely. Let me show you how. Here's what most people don't understand about anxiety and money. Anxiety doesn't just make you feel bad. It makes you spend money to stop feeling bad. And that emotional spending becomes a hidden tax that drains your finances without you even noticing. A 2021 study published in the Journal of Economic Psychology tracked 2,400 participants over 18 months and found that individuals with elevated anxiety levels spent an average of $3,847 more annually than non-anxious individuals with identical income levels. That's not because anxious people are irresponsible. It's because anxiety creates specific behavioral patterns that consistently lead to overspending. Let me show you the 3 primary mechanisms, and I guarantee you'll recognize yourself in at least one of them. Mechanism 1. Anxiety relief purchases. This is when you buy something not because you need it, but because the act of buying temporarily relieves anxiety. You had a terrible day at work. Your boss criticized you in front of the team. You feel humiliated, anxious, worthless. On the way home, you stop at Target just to look around. You walk out with $87 worth of stuff you didn't go in there to buy. A scented candle, some organizing bins, a new notebook. None of it was on a list. None of it was planned. What happened? Your brain was flooded with cortisol from the anxiety at work. Shopping triggered a dopamine release that temporarily counteracted the cortisol. For 20 minutes, you felt better. But the relief was fake. The anxiety came back, and now you're $87 poorer. This is the anxiety tax. You just paid $87 for 20 minutes of emotional regulation that your brain should have been able to do for free. Mechanism 2. Avoidance spending. This is when anxiety about a financial problem causes you to avoid dealing with the problem, which makes the problem worse, which costs you more money. You know you're being charged for a subscription you don't use. You know you should cancel it, but canceling requires logging into the account, navigating the website, maybe calling customer service. All of that feels overwhelming when you're already anxious about money, so you don't do it. Month after month, you're paying $15 per month to avoid 10 minutes of discomfort. That's $180 a year. Multiply that by the 4 subscriptions you're avoiding canceling, and you're at $720 annually spent on avoidance. Or here's a bigger one. You suspect you're overpaying for car insurance. You know you should shop around, but the thought of comparing quotes, reading policy details, making phone calls, it spikes your anxiety so high that you just don't. You renew automatically, year after year, and that avoidance costs you over $600 annually compared to what you'd pay if you spent 2 hours shopping around. Mechanism 3. Panic overpaying. This is when anxiety makes you pay extra for speed, convenience, or certainty, because waiting or comparison shopping feels intolerable. Your check engine light comes on. Immediately, anxiety floods in. What if the engine is failing? What if I break down on the highway? What if I can't get to work tomorrow? You drive straight to the dealership not because it's the best option, but because anxiety demands immediate answers. They charge you $150 just to run diagnostics. Then they tell you it needs $800 worth of work, and you say yes on the spot. No second opinion, no price comparison, no checking if an independent mechanic could do it for half the cost. You didn't even ask what the check engine light was actually indicating. For all you know, it could have been a $20 gas cap issue. But anxiety hijacked the decision. It convinced you that taking time to research, compare prices, or make a second opinion was too risky. Anxiety didn't just make you spend money. It made you spend more money than the situation required, because when you're anxious, speed feels like safety, and you'll pay a premium for that feeling. Now, here's where Proverbs chapter 12, verse 25 gets really interesting. The verse doesn't just say anxiety is bad, it gives you the counteragent. A good word cheers it up. The Hebrew phrase for a good word is davar tov. It means a true, constructive, reality-based statement, not toxic positivity, not pretending everything is fine. A good word is a factual statement that reorients your perspective from catastrophe to reality. And this is the key to breaking the anxiety spending cycle. You have to interrupt the anxious thought with a true statement before it becomes a purchase. Example. You're anxious about money. Your brain says, I'm going to run out of money and be homeless. That's the anxiety talking. That's catastrophizing. The good word, the davar tov, is this. I have $1,847 in my account. My rent is $950. I am not in immediate danger. That's not pretending the financial stress isn't real. It's reorienting your brain from imagined catastrophe to actual facts. And when you do that, the compulsion to make an anxiety relief purchase weakens. Proverbs 21 verse 5 adds another layer. The plans of the diligent lead surely to abundance, but everyone who is hasty comes only to poverty. The word hasty in Hebrew is atz. It means to be pressed, hurried, driven by urgency rather than reason. That's panic overpaying. That's buying the $1,200 laptop because anxiety is screaming at you that waiting even 24 hours is dangerous. Anxiety makes you hasty, and hasty decisions lead to poverty. The Bible isn't just giving you spiritual advice, it's giving you financial strategy. Slow down, interrupt the panic, speak truth to your fear. Make decisions from a place of clarity, not from a place of cortisol. Let's get concrete about what anxiety actually costs you annually, because once you see the numbers, you can't unsee them. Let's say you make $55,000 a year. You're not broke, you're not rich, you're somewhere in the middle, trying to get ahead. Here's what anxiety is quietly doing to your finances. Anxiety relief purchases. You have 3 bad anxiety days per month. Each time, you spend an average of $40 on something to make yourself feel better. Coffee with friends, online shopping, takeout when you're too anxious to cook. That's $120 per month, $1,440 per year. Avoidance spending. You're paying for 2 subscriptions you don't use because canceling them spikes your anxiety. That's $25 per month. You're overpaying for car insurance by $50 per month because you avoid shopping around. You're staying with a cell phone plan that's $30 more than competitors because switching feels overwhelming. That's $105 per month, $1,260 per year. Panic overpaying. Twice a year, anxiety causes you to make a hasty, expensive decision. You overpaid for a flight because you panicked booked. You paid extra for same-day delivery on something you didn't urgently need. You bought something at full price because you couldn't tolerate waiting for a sale. Average overspending, $300 per incident. That's $600 per year. Opportunity costs of paralysis. Anxiety has kept you from negotiating a raise, starting at side income, or switching to a higher paying job. Conservative estimate of lost income, $2,000 per year. Total annual anxiety tax, $5,300. That's not a small number. That's a vacation. That's a used car. That's 6 months of retirement contributions. And you didn't spend it on anything you actually wanted. You spent it on trying to stop feeling anxious. Over 20 years, that's $106,000 in direct losses. Factor in compound interest if you had invested that money instead, and you're looking at over $250,000 in lifetime wealth destruction caused by untreated anxiety. And most people have no idea it's happening because anxiety spending doesn't feel like a choice. It feels like survival. Here's what's happening in your brain when anxiety hijacks your finances. When you're anxious, your amygdala, the brain's fear center, goes into overdrive. It floods your system with cortisol and adrenaline. Your prefrontal cortex, the part responsible for rational decision-making, long-term planning, and impulse control, gets suppressed. This is why you can know intellectually that you shouldn't buy something, but you do it anyway. Your rational brain is offline. Your fear brain is driving. And here's the worst part. Consumer companies know this. They know that anxious people spend more. They know that anxiety suppresses price sensitivity. They know that fear-based marketing works. So they engineer their websites, their ads, their messaging to trigger your anxiety and then offer their product as the solution. What if you get sick and don't have coverage? Buy this insurance. What if you miss this limited time deal? Buy this product now. What if everyone else is ahead of you? Buy this course. They're not selling you a product. They're selling you relief from the anxiety their own marketing created. And it works because your anxious brain is desperate for relief. But here's what breaks the cycle. Awareness plus interruption. You can't stop anxiety from happening, but you can stop it from making financial decisions for you. And the method is simpler than you think. Here's the 3-step framework that stops anxiety from wrecking your finances. Step 1. Interrupt. The moment you feel the urge to make a purchase driven by emotion, stress, anxiety, fear, panic, stop physically. Put the phone down, close the laptop, walk away from the store. You're not saying no forever. You're just interrupting the anxiety-driven autopilot because anxiety wants you to act now. It wants you to buy now. It tells you that waiting is dangerous. That's the lie. Waiting is never dangerous when it comes to non-essential purchases. Step 2. Reality check. The good word. This is where Proverbs 12:25 comes in. Speak the truth to your anxiety, out loud if necessary. Anxiety says, I need this to feel safe. Reality says, I am currently safe. This purchase will not change my safety. Anxiety says, I can't handle this financial stress. Reality says, I have handled financial stress before. I am handling it right now. Anxiety says, I have to act immediately or I'll lose the opportunity. Reality says, if this opportunity disappears in 24 hours, it wasn't the right opportunity. The goal isn't to eliminate the anxiety. The goal is to prevent the anxiety from making decisions. You acknowledge the feeling, but you don't obey the impulse. Step 3. Delay. The 24-hour rule saves you thousands of dollars annually. Any non-essential purchase that anxiety is pushing you toward, delay it by 24 hours. Put it in a cart, write it on a list, screenshot it, but don't buy it. If you still want it 24 hours later and you can afford it, buy it. No guilt. But what you'll find is that 70% of anxiety-driven purchase impulses disappear completely within 24 hours because the anxiety that triggered the urge passes. And once the anxiety passes, the need for the purchase disappears with it. This isn't about depriving yourself. It's about making sure your purchases are decisions, not reactions. The spiritual anchor. Let me close with this. Philippians chapter 4, verses 6 through 7 says, Do not be anxious about anything, but in everything, by prayer and supplication with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. And the peace of God, which surpasses all understanding, will guard your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. Notice the word guard. The Greek is phroureo. It means to protect by military guard, to garrison, to keep under watch. God's peace isn't just a nice feeling. It's an active defense system against the thoughts that want to destroy you, including the anxious thoughts that want to destroy your finances. When you pray about your financial anxiety, you're not asking God to make you rich. You're asking Him to guard your mind so that fear doesn't make decisions for you. And that guarding happens through truth, through the good word of Proverbs 12:25, through interrupting the lie that anxiety is selling and replacing it with reality. You are not your anxiety. Your anxiety is not your financial advisor, and the purchases your anxiety demands are not solving the problem, they're funding it. It's 2 a.m. You're lying in bed. The anxiety is real. The financial stress is real, but the catastrophe your brain is predicting, that's not real. Not yet. And it won't become real if you stop letting anxiety spend your money. Interrupt. Reality check. Delay. Speak the good word to your anxious heart. Let God's peace guard your mind and make your financial decisions from a place of truth, not from a place of fear. If this helped you see the connection between your anxiety and your bank account, hit that subscribe button. Let's break the cycle together. I'll see you in the next one.